I can't shake this feeling. I feel there's no ceiling. I've been out here floating alone, no desire to touch base or to come back home. I can't shake this feeling. I feel there's no...
What's up, everybody? It's Alex again from Castle Rock Paranormal. This time I'm going to be reacting to something a little bit different. This time it's again from the Speakeasy. This time it's haunted hikes in Colorado specifically. I've hiked all over the country in a lot of different states, but I'm new to Colorado, so, and maybe this summer these are some places I could look in to possibly go on a good hike and possibly investigate while I'm out there. I've never really investigated hiking trails in particular, I could say, but let's see what Colorado has to offer. As always, I'll let you know what I think, if I believe they're just urban legend or if I believe there could be actually paranormal activity out there, and why I think that. Here we go.
This walks through rolling
sand dunes plagued by mysterious animal mutilations and strange lights, to eerie strolls through dense forests forever scarred by the souls that died there. The Centennial State is crawling with terrifying supernatural happenings, which is why the Speakeasy presents.
It's funny they say that, it's because actually not only the Centennial State of Colorado is actually one of the most haunted states in all of America, and that's something I didn't really know until I started researching more haunted locations. Colorado also has more ghost towns than any other state in America. Just a fun fact.
Our picks for the
most haunted hikes in Colorado, starting with number 5, the Stormy Peaks B-17 crash site. The Comanche Peaks Wilderness is a nearly 67,000-acre forested area established within Roosevelt National Park in 1980. Throughout the area, there are more than 120 miles of hiking trails that wind their way through dense forests, along flowing streams, and up steep mountainsides. Starting at the...
That alone sounds like a hike I want to go on. I love difficult ascending hikes like that. So, yeah, let's see what the paranormal claims there are.
Stormy Peaks Trailhead.
Near Pingree Park in Bellevue, there's another, smaller path called the Old Sawmill Trail. This trail is a 5.6-mile, moderately difficult path that hikes up to a site that most would only expect to see in a horror movie. On the night of October 18th, 1943, a B-17 bomber left Rapid City, South Dakota, and began their long flight to Denver, Colorado. As they were flying through the Comanche Peaks Wilderness, something went awry, and the plane crashed, killing all 8 passengers on board. The crash site, as well as portions of the wreckage, can still be seen today, and many have hiked through the dense forests.
That alone makes me want to go up there. That would be an intense, emotional sight to see, for sure. Me being in this field of the paranormal, I would probably feel the energy of those people that died that day, unfortunately. But yeah, that's interesting. I'm kind of glad I watched this now.
To catch a glimpse of this
haunting place. Several of those walking through the area have been overcome by a feeling of sadness and dread, as if something terrible is about to happen. Eerie shadow figures lurk behind trees, odd lights float above the wreckage, and disembodied voices have been heard at night. Orbs and strange mists have been known to appear in photos, and several get the feeling that they are being watched or followed by something unseen. Number 4.
Alright, so in my theories on all those claims, I definitely believe those claims, and only for the simple fact that was a real story that happened. I'm sure I would have no reason to think why they would lie about that in this episode, but I'm sure you could look up an actual news source, especially if there's pieces of wreckage still there to this day. That's going to leave a lot of residual energy, and I mean, it could possibly even be some intelligent energy there as well. But yeah, I'd love to hike up there someday and check it out. Maybe spend the night up there.
Great Sand Dunes
National Park and Preserve. The Great Sand Dunes National Park and Preserve is a beautiful American national park in southern Colorado. The park and preserve encompass nearly 150,000 acres, with an area of enormous sand dunes along the eastern edge of the San Luis Valley and a national preserve in the Sangre de Cristo mountain range. The area boasts the largest sand dunes in North America, with some measuring as tall as 750 feet in height. Evidence shows that the first humans to inhabit the area arrived nearly 11,000 years ago in the form of nomadic people who are said to have hunted the mammoth and prehistoric bison that lived here. The area was originally opened as the Great Sand Dunes National Monument in 1932, with the name change occurring much later in 2000. The park and preserve are covered in hiking trails that wind through a vast array of landscapes, including rolling sand dunes, lush grasslands, and dense forests. Throughout history, the area has been plagued by inexplicable happenings, so much so that the park supplies a watchtower where guests can keep an eye out for the otherworldly. Visitors have reported everything from eerie shadows to disembodied voices and dark figures lurking in the shadows. Strange lights bob through the air, and bizarre objects have been seen floating across the sky. Some believe these to be unidentified flying objects, possibly containing visitors from another galaxy, while others insist that they are spiritual manifestations caused by the area's vast history. Several have reported the sensation of being watched or followed, or being overcome by a feeling of extreme fear. Perhaps the most unnerving thing, though, are the hundreds of mysterious cattle mutilations that have been reported throughout the area since the 1970s and continue to this day.
Yeah, now that's interesting. I was going to lean more towards human spiritual activity out there. The cattle mutilations, that definitely would not be involved in that whatsoever. That would lean more towards really, really higher up supernatural, kind of more like the lines of skinwalkers, or like I said, possible extraterrestrial activity out there. Because I was going to ask also about that place, what makes it haunted? Like, they didn't really name any deaths, significant deaths. I mean, I'm sure there have been deaths out there, accidents and whatnot, but I mean, I don't know. But yeah, that's definitely a place I'd like to do some research on. I love sand dunes. I love going out and checking them out. I've been to Alta Dunes in Wyoming a few times, and it's pretty interesting out there.
Number 3.
Alta, Colorado. Throughout the 19th century, thousands began making the long journey west in the hopes of striking it rich in the gold mining industry. In 1877, a small
mining town. She just said it, so mining towns are usually pretty active, so I'd like to hear about this one.
Group discovered gold,
copper, silver, and lead veins in the mountains between Telluride and Rico. With this, the small town of Alta was born. Located in southwestern Colorado, the mining town thrived until 1948, when a fire enveloped the entire mine complex, effectively destroying the town's economy. Everyone soon moved away in search of work elsewhere, and the once active mining town sat abandoned. Today, the ghost town of Alta is a spooky reminder of days gone by, with several of the old buildings still standing. Visitors can hike to the area along the Alta Ghost Town Trail, an easily walked dirt road path just over 10 miles in length, winding through forests and along the beautiful Alta lakes. Several visitors to the area have reported a number of unnerving occurrences, leading many to speculate that the spirits of this small town's residents may have never left. Eerie sounds are heard all along the trail, shadow figures wander through the once active town, and strange lights are seen in the empty buildings. Multiple visitors to the area have reported seeing people in old-fashioned clothing who they thought were other hikers, only to watch them disappear into thin air. The sound of footsteps follows people as they walk through the town. Faces have been seen peering from the windows of the old buildings, and disembodied voices echo through the trees. Number 2.
Now, that's definitely a place I could see as being pretty haunted, no doubt about that, because there's, just for the simple fact that it's an old mining town, there's a lot of history that goes on. I've done a lot of research, and I know from personal experience on investigating several mining towns that you're going to have activity out there. A lot of it's going to be residual, but you can definitely have intelligent activity out there in some of these places, no doubt about that. Now let's check out Fort Morgan.
the Riverside Park,
Nature trails. Riverside Park is a small community park located along the South Platte River in the town of Fort Morgan. The area was first developed in 1859 as Camp Tyler, a military post and stopover for travelers on their way west. The camp underwent a name change to Fort Morgan in 1866, but was abandoned just 2 years later in 1868. The area sat unused until 1884, when the town of Fort Morgan began to grow just south of the fort's ruins. Riverside Park, along the northern border of Fort Morgan, hosts multiple activities for visitors, including a disc golf course, picnic shelters, playgrounds, and numerous hiking trails. The Riverside Park nature trails are peaceful, well-kept paths that lead through lush trees and along the banks of the South Platte River. Legend says that in the town's early days, a woman moved to Fort Morgan to begin a new life. She is said to have practiced witchcraft, however, and the rest of the town quickly shunned her for it. One night, overcome by loneliness, the woman walked down to the banks of the river and took her own life. Now dubbed the River Witch, she is said to roam the banks of the river to this day, seeking revenge on the townspeople who turned their back on her. Visitors brave enough to walk the trails at night have reported seeing her dark figure appearing as the shadowed form of a woman in black. She is said to follow or even chase down any who cross her path, causing several to flee the park in terror. Many hikers and visitors to the park have been overcome by the feeling of being watched, and some have even felt icy hands attempt to grab or shove them. Number 1, the Sand.
Definitely could believe in that as well. I'd like to go out there and check it out, no doubt. Seems like a fun place. Interesting views and nice views and interesting history, I'd like to say, so no doubt.
Creek Massacre
National Historic Site. The Sand Creek Massacre National Historic Site, located in Kiowa County, is a large area of land that has been preserved by the National Park Service. The site commemorates the Sand Creek Massacre, also known as the Battle of Sand Creek. As more and more European settlers made their way into Colorado in search of gold, tensions between the native tribes of the area and the miners began to rise. When the Civil War began in 1861, several troops were formed in the Colorado Territory, and many of them were stationed at home to guard settlers in the area. In 1864, tensions between the settlers and Native Americans hit a boiling point, and in April of that year, Colorado soldiers began attacking and destroying multiple Cheyenne camps. About a month later, on May 16th, a group of soldiers gunned down a Cheyenne hunting party led by Chiefs Lead Bear and Star. The fighting continued until July, when the Colorado Governor John Evans invited any friendly tribes to move to Fort Lyon in the Eastern Plains. This was meant to be a place of sanctuary and protection, but they were soon asked to move once again. On November 29, 1864, a group of the Colorado U.S. Volunteer Cavalry attacked and destroyed the camp. The soldiers rode into the camp, killing and mutilating everyone in sight. No one is certain how many Native Americans were killed that day, with some records estimating.
Hold on. Yeah, so what I was about to say on that one, like, there's other battlefields, so there's the Bear River Massacre site in Idaho. You also got, I can't think of the name of it right now, but it's in Cedar City, Utah, another massacre site where U.S. settlers killed a bunch of Native American men, women, and children. And that's just a sad time in history in general. I mean, there's going to be a lot of negative energy out in these places. There's going to be a lot of residual energy as well, but those are just types of places I don't really investigate for the simple fact I can't relate to them. I'm white. I'm not, and the last memory these people have of white people were bad ones. So it's not usually going to end up very well if you go out there and try to investigate it as a white person. Unless you have natives with you, possibly, but yeah. Well, definitely I'd believe that place is definitely pretty haunted, though. Just from, again, personal experience.
Causing several
To believe these tortured souls never left. The apparitions of Civil War soldiers as well as Native Americans have been seen, locked in battle for all eternity. Several have been overcome by a sense of fear. Ghostly gunshots echo through the area, and the sound of tribal drums and chanting is heard echoing across the land. Random cold spots are felt, shadow figures are seen wandering as if lost, and several have seen the apparitions of dying men and bloody bodies strewn across the ground. Perhaps the most commonly experienced haunting reported here is the sound of a woman sobbing uncontrollably, causing several to become overwhelmed by...
And that actually does sound residual. That doesn't sound intelligent. That definitely sounds like that's residual energy of a woman that was killed there, or who had family that was killed there, being played on even current day and time.
Sadness.
With the area's extensive history marked by death and destruction, and the number of disturbing hauntings reported here, it's no wonder we chose the Sand Creek Massacre National Historic Site as our pick for the most haunted hike in Colorado. There you have it. That was our list of the most haunted hikes in Colorado.
So yeah, so what do you guys think? If you're from Colorado, let me know. Are there some haunted hiking trails that you know about that weren't on the list? Let me know in the comments below. Until next time, peace.